Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to paint my Dark Angels alternate color scheme. Over a black primer, we just want to be applying Pro Acryl's Dark Emerald. As you can see, I am using an airbrush. You don't have to use an airbrush to do this, it's just I find airbrush is a lot easier and quicker to use for base coating and building up all your layers. Next up is Jade by Pro Acryl, and with this paint we're just going to be covering the majority of the model. We're going to be leaving dark emerald within the deepest recesses and the darkest areas. I tend to paint different alternate schemes to the original schemes that most people would paint. It just gives a bit of variety to the models and what you're looking at, whether that's on tabletop or in a display case. I like doing alternative schemes. As you can see, I am doing this as a sub-assemble. The reason for this is because the gun would obscure the location what I'm trying to paint. Obviously, if you're painting for speed, you don't have to do this. On this next step, we're going to be using 50-50 of Jade and Sabarite Green. We're going to be highlighting from the top, and this is just going to be building our foundation for the highlights. Now for the main highlight, we are going to be using Sabarite Green, Pale Flesh, Ice Yellow. For this, you want 2 parts Sabarite Green, 1 part Pale Flesh, 1 part Ice Yellow. Here we want to be careful because we want to try get the highlight within the previous highlight that we just done. So where we just applied the Jade and Sabarite, we want to apply this highlight essentially. Try not to go out of them areas. However, if you do go out of them areas, don't worry, you can just go back a couple of steps. It's most likely you're going to be applying Jade again and then building up from the step Jade to Jade and Sabarite to Sabarite Green, Ice Yellow and Pale Flesh. Final highlight, we're just going to be adding to the previous mixture 1 part Ice Yellow. So we'll have 2 parts Sabarite Green, 1 part Pale Flesh, 2 parts Ice Yellow. So with this, we just want to make sure that we're getting inside the previous highlights, and this is just going to be the very tippity top of the highlights. Next, all we're going to be doing is applying a polyurethane gloss varnish. You can use whatever brand of varnish you want, it's just this is what's going to help our oil do the capillary action and jump into all the recesses. Oils are very easy to use and they've got a lot of clear up time, so if you haven't tried them out, then I definitely urge you to try these out. If you are using oils, then you can just go around and just pin wash all of the recesses. Note that you don't actually need to wash the whole entire model or the armor panels, you can just do the recesses. The same goes for if you're just using a shade like Nuln Oil, you don't need to go over the whole entire armor panel, just do the recesses. Now we're moving on to doing edge highlights. You don't have to edge highlight the whole model, you can if you want to. I sometimes do, I sometimes don't, it's how I'm feeling on the day. But all we're going to be using is 1 part Ice Yellow, 1 part Sabarite Green and 1 part Pale Flesh, so the original mixture for the highlights of what we've done. Make sure just to take your time, use the edge of your brush. In some harder places you might have to use the tip of your brush. Just make sure there's not too much paint in the belly of the brush, and then you can just crack on and get edge highlighting. Just a couple of tips for edge highlighting. So one being, you can move the model around, you don't have to keep it in the stationary position. As you can see in the video, I do move it around quite a lot. I turn it upside down, I turn it to the side just so I can get better angles. And then make sure you have a nice paint consistency. You don't want the mixture to be too wet or too dry. So what I like to do is mix some water in, and then what I usually do is just dab off some excess water, and then that should give you a nice consistency to continue edge highlighting. Next up, we're just going to be doing some volumetric highlighting. So with one of the previous mixtures that we used, which was 2 parts Sabarite, 1 part Pale Flesh, 2 parts Ice Yellow, we're going to be basically getting that, watering it down. So you can either use water or you could use glaze medium. I've been experimenting with glaze medium and I actually found it so useful, and it makes a very nice glaze, which you should expect as it is in the name. So all we're going to be doing is going into the center of each of the highlights that we made with the airbrush, and then we're just going to be building upon that and eventually getting up to pure Ice Yellow if you want to. You don't have to go that bright. As you can see, I am not just purely glazing, I'm using a stippling motion to glaze the mixture on, and I am doing this all the way up until pure Ice Yellow. Again, this isn't really needed, but you can if you just want to push yourself and push your model further. Next up, on all the gold areas that we want, we just want to paint it black, and then over this we're going to be using Necron Gold. Now, I absolutely love this paint, it's so nice. I haven't used too many Scale 75 paints, but the metallics I feel are just unmatched by any other paint brand. However, the other paints that I've used from Scale 75 that aren't metallics, I'm not actually too fond of. Next up, all we want to do is apply a wash of Rhinox Hide. Now, to create a wash from the paint, all you want to do is just add a bunch of water into it. I can't tell you how much, but you just want to make it to a shade-like consistency. All we're doing is just applying this to all of the golden areas. Once the shade is dry, all you need to do is just go over with Necro Gold again, and we're just catching all the raised areas and just edge highlighting all of the gold areas. That is how you paint the Dark Angels alternate color scheme. To do the lenses, I do have a separate video. It is for green, but you can also use it for red. If you want me to make a separate video on this as well, then let me know. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed and viewed all my videos, and thank you for leaving feedback on some of my videos as well. I really do appreciate it all. I do already have some videos lined up. I will be attempting to implement all the feedback once these next few videos are out. I will see you all in the next one.